In this video I want to talk about a new feature that was added to Power Music in March 2013. This new feature is the ability to organise your music into libraries. It's a major change to Power Music, but if you don't want to use libraries you'll not notice any difference at all. Everything will continue as normal. However, if you're the kind of musician who maybe has different styles of music they want to keep apart, or for instance you maybe play on a church band on Sunday but you also play in a club or something during the week playing a different style of music, and you want to store all your music in Power Music, you can put your Sunday music into one library and your pop music or dance music, whatever it is, into another, and it means it makes searching and indexing and finding by categories and so on much easier because you're just looking at the one library. You're not looking at all of your music. All your music is still available in all songs, and libraries are just simply a way of grouping together your music, and the same song can be in multiple libraries. The one thing to remember is that playlists are across libraries, so you can create a playlist of songs from different libraries. You don't restrict your playlist to a single library. Okay, so let's then have a look at how libraries operate. Here we have the normal startup screen for Power Music. Everything here looks the same, apart from two minor differences you'll notice on the icon bar at the top here. The first thing is there's a little arrow beside all songs, and along here you'll notice there's a libraries icon with a little gear on it to show this is where you work with your libraries. I've got my Power Music set up with two libraries, so if I now click on here you'll notice that as well as just simply clicking all songs, which is what you would see if you didn't have any libraries set up, there'd be no change there. I've now got two libraries, one called Church Music and one called Classical Piano. At the moment I'm looking at my all songs, so if I select Church Music you'll notice that the list of songs available here is now restricted to just the songs that are in my church music, and again I can go through these and you'll see them there. I can search them and I can go through the indexing and so on, and all of this relates to this library of music which is my church music. I go up here, I can change now to my classical piano music, and here we have all my classical piano music. Again, the searching and indexing all apply to this selection. So you can see how you can divide your music into different libraries, and you can create as many libraries as you want. Let's look at first of all how we can go about putting a song into a library, and then I'll show you how to create libraries and work with libraries. If I go back to all songs, you'll notice actually there's some songs here that aren't in a library at all. So for instance, if I click on Amazing Grace, it just used to be called the tags tab, we now call it the details tab. It's a bit more sensible name for it, I think. And actually I'm going to do a video on the changes to this as well, so if you're interested you can have a look at that video later. In here you'll notice that we've now got a note of what library it's in, and this one says it's in none. If I click on one that isn't a library, it tells me, for instance here, this is my church music library and this is in my classical piano library. So let's go back to Amazing Grace, which is not in any library. I can add it to a library in a number of ways. I can right click on the song here and say add to library. Now this is a piece of church music, so I'll just select church music on here and say OK, and as soon as I do that, Amazing Grace is now in my church music library. It's still in my all songs, but it's also in there. So if I go back to my music and go up here and select church music, you'll now notice that Amazing Grace is in my church music library. Do the same thing again. Let's go back to all songs. So let's just go now and see how we can put a piece of music into our classical piano music. If I go to Alla Turca, here's here, and look at the details again, you'll notice it's not in a library, and I'll show you a different way of putting it into a library. We can simply go here and edit the details screen, and you'll notice now we've got a new bit in here for libraries. I can say I want to add it to a library and I want to add it to my classical piano library, and I say OK to that. That's it in classical piano. Save the changes and it's in the classical piano. Again, if I quickly go up here and select classical piano, you'll now notice that the rondo is in there. Of course a song can be in two libraries at the same time. I'll show you an example of that. So here's a piece here called I Am the Resurrection, and that appears in my classical piano pieces, and it also appears if I go here to my church music, and again you'll see it's in the church music as well. So there's no problem for one song to be in multiple libraries. Remember I said though that playlists cross all libraries, so if you set up a playlist then you can have songs from multiple libraries in a playlist. That's not going to be an issue. The other thing is that when you export songs as PM zips, then the library information is taken with it, so that when you import a song from a PM zip, it'll be put into the correct library, or if the library doesn't exist, it'll create the library and put it into the library for you. Same thing with using the box. If you use PMLibraries box, if you load songs up to the PMLibraries box, which are set up in libraries, when someone else brings them down into their computer or you bring it into another device, it'll bring down the library information with it as well. Again, creating any libraries on your computer. If of course you don't want to use libraries, then just go and ignore that completely and just work from all songs. I'll show you how to delete a library later. Okay. Let's look now at what this icon here does. This is the Work with Libraries or Manage Libraries icon. If we click on that, the first thing it tells you is you have to close down the main screen you're working on, which so we'll say OK to that. It would have given you the option to save a playlist if you're working on it, or a song if you're editing at the same time. And here we've got this nice little screen here, which has got the list of, for the particular library we've selected, in this case the church music. Here are the list over here of the songs that are not in the church music, and here are the songs that are in the church music. If I change to the other library, piano, again I get the list here of the ones that are in the library, and the list here of the ones that are not in the library. You probably noticed, you might not have noticed, in church music, Silent Night, which is a piece of church music, isn't in my church music library. So I'm just going to move that across now, so I can just select it and I can say add that to the library on the right. So there's a third way of putting songs into the library. The advantage of this screen is you can do multiple selections. So you can do that. You can even select all the songs and move them across. So this is a way of moving songs in bulk from the list of songs into a particular library. And you'd probably use this when you first set up your libraries. If you've got a big list of songs at the moment, you might have to spend a few minutes or so moving stuff in bulk into the libraries. You'll notice here as well we can create a new library. So let's just create a new library and let's call this pop music. Okay, so I'm going to create a library from a pop music, and again you'll notice there's nothing in there obviously, so just for fun, let's say that A La Turca was a piece of pop music as well. I can move that into my pop music library like that. Renaming a library, I go again, just go there. If I didn't like the name pop music, I could have called it popular music. Okay, and that renames it so that it's now got that name. I can delete a library as well, so if I don't want my church music library anymore, I just go there and say delete library, and if you confirm that, then the library will be deleted. Obviously none of the songs will be deleted, but the library will be deleted. The songs will still all be there in all songs. I'm not going to delete that just now. To take stuff out of a library, you can just simply select things on here and click on there, and that takes them out of the library and puts them into this available list here. If you've got a very large number of songs here, one of the useful features is this advanced filter. It looks quite complicated, but it's actually quite straightforward. It allows you to filter what you're seeing in this area by either a category or by an author, or you can also exclude songs which are in other libraries. Now, you may have to think about this for a minute or two, but if I say I'll exclude all the things in my classical piano library, I then see what is left here. If I exclude what's in my popular music, you see them here. So if you're doing some sophisticated management of your libraries, then this filter screen is very, very useful. Hide that and close. One last thing to say before I finish, and that is when you're adding new songs, just show you this here. If we go to add a new song, and I'm currently using my church music library, when I go to add a new song, you'll notice that it is by default in the church music library. You can add it to other libraries in here, or you can just ignore the libraries completely and not use the libraries feature. But a new song, when it's added, as well as going into all songs, it will be added to the currently selected library. I hope you found this video useful. One thing I would say is that this is only available in PowerMusic 4. It's not available in PowerMusic Lite. PowerMusic Lite is a free version of PowerMusic, which simply allows you to display the songs that other people have been creating or you've bought from our PowerMusic store. Thanks for listening to the video.